SHOT Show 2022 at the Verco booth with my good friend Gabriel. How you doing, brother?
Stuart, always a pleasure to see you.
Well, I don't know about that. There's a lot of people that would have a big argument over that whole concept, but
Yeah,
it's much appreciated coming from you. Now, we met several years ago at SHOT Show.
Yes, sir.
Back when the Verco booth, which was a fraction of your footprint here, and kind of tucked away in the catacombs, so to speak.
Oh yeah, we were huffing semi-fumes then.
Yeah, little, and maybe some diesel spillage.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and limited foot traffic for you.
Yes, sir.
So you're in a prime, one of the prime rooms this year.
Yes, sir.
Well deserved and well earned, of course. And we've moved forward from that original handshake and popping off about names and anticipatory cigars and a little bit of family conversation, actually,
yes, sir.
Which is moving along for you. We don't need to go into detail, but big congratulations there as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to pictures, man.
Absolutely.
And hey, you can name somebody after somebody. You know, I know.
Maybe the next
I'm
one.
pushing a little too hard there, but with all of that said, Verco has really made a number of strides, we should say, and let's go into just a bit of the history.
Sure.
You know, we touched on that earlier, but might as well just go ahead, please.
Yeah, let's start at the beginning. So, Verco Materials was started out of Georgia Tech. We actually started it as a DoD-funded project to basically boost our manufacturing capability for our ceramic strike face materials. We did several projects under DoD to increase our manufacturing capability of our proprietary blend of boron carbide that creates the hardest strike facing material in the world. Those projects were with DARPA, ARL, NATIC, NAVAIR, the gamut of the groups. And then we did those projects from about 2006 to 2017, and that's a little bit after that is when we first met. And at that time, we had come out with our offerings for law enforcement, and we had gotten our first NIJ certification for our Motility MH product. Now that was multi-hit capable against all the way to 7.62 by 5.4R LPS rounds. Turns out that that's a little bit much for domestic law enforcement. Not a lot of Russian snipers on the streets of America.
That we know of just yet.
Just yet.
And you know what? Let's just go ahead and cover this ugly mug up. I mean, it's really just kind of so inappropriate having to look down at that. But yeah, so the first offing was a bit intense, we might say, protection, but nonetheless, I'm sure that there were a number of the professionals that were very interested in it as well.
They were, and still are for those units, for those departments, for those individuals that are encountering some pretty nasty stuff out there. But since then, we had this in development last time I saw you, but we've got it all the way through now. Now we have our second NIJ certified product. This is our Urban Shield MH, whereas the first one was 6 pounds about for medium sappy. This one is about 4.9, so that's a 20% reduction in weight, quite a development, with the actual official NIJ certification along with it. So that's kind of product right there, but to give a little bit more detail on the technology. Go ahead.
And is this using this tile, or is it an upgraded or an improved tile?
So it is using a close brethren of this tile. We'll say that. There are some changes, but this close brethren of this tile. And the way that basically the armor works, and it's basically the same between the two models, it's just differences in engineering and materials and a little bit of design. We take our world's strongest strike face material, proprietary blend. We wrap it in patented technology for carbon fiber wrap. Take those complex featured tiles that you can see there, lay them up in this larger array using another proprietary technology that makes sure that we keep everything in place. Conditioning is not an issue. Angled shots are not an issue, as shown by the NIJ's extensive testing, so that we don't have any problems with any of those issues that maybe some other technologies might have.
Well, am I right or wrong? Does this seem a little more flexible than the first iteration?
It is. The new developments in design have allowed it to become lighter, a little bit thinner, a little bit more flexible. And what it's allowed us to do is do some of these kind of interesting coverages. We've got a lot more feedback from units in the field and law enforcement personnel to allow us to design something like this. If you remember when we first saw, we were basically doing turtle shells because I'm an engineer. I don't want to get shot at, so I want to wear a lot of armor. Turns out I've learned quite a lot. I've gone through some law enforcement training myself since then, and I've realized that being protected and being mobile are hand in hand, and they don't always mean being able to soak up 1,000,000 rounds, even though you can do that. For instance, this panel.
Well, let's jump back over here.
Sure,
so
yeah.
we had talked extensively about some, at the time we had the plate-shaped pocket, if you will, or the plate-shaped packet of tiles, and that was pretty much what was in the offing there, almost 2 years ago now.
Yes, sir.
And I had asked you, I kept prodding you almost, and I apologize for being a bit of an irritant at times, but I kept prodding you about coming up with something that would be more comfortable and wrap around and give that side protection, and obviously it's in the offing. Now, and let me please jump, I met one of your people, let's just say a man, who you've brought on board to help with the carriers, because I think we were having, look at me, I'm sounding like I'm with the, hey, since I am, part of the company now, you were having issues with having some carriers made and the proper configuration and trying to get somebody on board, and I'm sure there was a plethora of other reasons and issues that you were dealing with trying to contract those out. But am I correct that now carriers are being made, in essence, in-house?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Absolutely. We have full control over armor design and construction all the way through carrier design and construction. And my colleague who you spoke with has been largely to thank for this. He does have the law enforcement background. He has given us a lot of good design input. And this is kind of one of the culminations of something like that. And this is exactly what you were kind of describing in terms of the need and the improvements in design. It is based off of, a SAPI or a shooter's cut plate, but with the side protection directly incorporated as a single piece armor to allow for providing of that wraparound protection without gaps in your ballistics. So when you present to an assailant or a target, you don't have to worry about there being gaps in your armor. And that's really where this came down to. And this has been...
Well, not to mention, and as we joked around a bit earlier on with the whole name thing, this would fit underneath the gown that you're going to wear for me someday.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't have the right colors with this one on the show, but I did leave my soft pink back home.
There you go. Hey, and it could even take some sequins or whatever, the shiny thing. Yeah, sequins, right?
Yeah.
It could even, we'll talk to him and he'll get a carrier made with sequins and the whole 9 yards.
My personal version is bedazzled, so yes.
And that would be the ultimate undercover piece, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
You blind them with brilliance.
With LEDs, but okay, now we're going to get way off into the weeds. I can see LEDs. I can see maybe even a strobe here and there. Talk to the right flashlight people, and yeah, this could go. Could go all sorts of directions.
It goes into gala. It goes into the field. Absolutely.
Very good. So now, and kind of getting into this, and look at this. We have another knucklehead peeking out from behind of your sample piece. So I didn't digress. I basically diverted you, which I'm pretty good at that.
Yeah.
So let's move on. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so obviously one benefit of the technology of being able to move these tiles out and cover areas is to have these weird flexible coverages that are informed by design need, informed by safety need. And one of the other major benefits is something like this.
Well, and to be clear, because this curves, there is no higher risk factor in the curvature. In other words, you take around this way, you take around this way, you take around this way, you're going to have, am I correct? You still have that same protection.
Absolutely.
Yeah, just because it's wrapped. In other words, it's like wrapping, the traditional flexible 3A.
Yes, and one of the things that we've found here through extensive testing, everything we do is through extensive testing, is basically to curve it to such a degree that there would even potentially be an issue of a round coming like this. You have to curve it so much that you're no longer shooting through the armor, you're shooting parallel to the armor, and you cannot get rounds to come in.
Well, in that case, it's a near miss, which is even better.
Exactly.
Yeah. Wait, if you can come up with an electronic, I don't know, a shield, if you will, to kind of, well, now we're getting off into real stupidity, but hey, you never
That'll
know.
be
With
next
Verco,
generation.
that could be next generation Verco. So now this is a sample, this is one of your sample test pieces, is that correct?
It is, and it demonstrates some of the resilience and benefits of having these individually isolated tiles. Each one of these individually isolated tiles basically acts as its own armor plate. So you can't have damage jump from one to the next. And the perfect example of that is this construction right here, which is the same as the certified panel. We shot it 30 times with the M855 green tip. Every single one of these impacts represents a shot from the M855 green tip.
And those are numbered in essence because it's difficult to see through the plastic, even though you wrap it with a clear cover.
Yes.
You have the powder, if you will, from the boron material.
That's correct.
That basically coats the inside and kind of creates a bit of a fog. But each one of these dark spots is an impact zone. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct.
Okay, very good. And they are numbered, even though you really can't see it on camera very well. Here we go. Well, that's...
Yeah, that's some of the, from the ballistics lab themselves, they make some markings as well.
Very good. Now, flipping this over, we have the back panel.
Correct.
The back component.
And you can see there are, well, you may not be able to see on the camera, but there are no holes in that.
That is correct.
And we actually have some of the rubbleized ceramic up here.
Yeah, this kind of powdered, crunched up stuff that, you know, I'm sure a tweaker somewhere would like to get a spoon and a straw out for that. They would probably light up their day. And then looking on the side section of this, again, a little difficult to really see, and you can see that things are beginning to separate, but again, after how many rounds again?
30.
30 rounds. I mean, you're going to have some, it's going to change the foundation.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And so there was minimal backface on this. This was, the average backface on all of these 30 shots was 13.6 millimeters. So a little bit, about a half an inch of backface trauma.
Now, you could, you know, we talked about a round coming into, you know, near a joint, if you will, or a connection area.
Yes, sir.
And these are overlapped just a bit.
Yes, sir.
To give that full protection. Each tile, matter of fact, I think that the first time we talked, I think I was telling you, yeah, this is, I forgot what they were calling it, but I said, you know, these are basically, they're tiles. I mean, they're not, it's, are these hexagons? I can't remember.
Yes,
1, 2, 3,
those
4.
are roughly hexagons.
Yeah, roughly a hexagon. And it's not an equal-sided hexagon, and that's called a poly, well, whatever.
A right hexagon, I believe, or right polygon hexagon, yeah.
Something like that, who knows? Okay, thanks, Professor. So, even though we have this overlap, each tile could potentially absorb more than just one round. One round will not completely obliterate or defeat one tile in your experience of your testing. Is that correct?
That is correct. It is very dependent upon the exact placement of the rounds and the caliber of the rounds, but we have had instances where, for instance, a single tile can absorb from a 5.56, a small caliber round, as many as 1, 2, 3 impacts and defeat the projectile.
Now,
we've even seen
a top-on-top impact would not necessarily be could defeat the tile, but I mean the reality is these are designed to break up. In other words, there's no way that they're going to just retain their original integrity.
That's right. It is part of the defeat mechanism of ceramic armor is that the ceramic defeats the projectile by breaking.
Right. And I'm sorry, I interrupted. Go
No,
ahead.
no, not at all. Even a larger caliber round like a 308, we have actually experienced in testing where a single tile can defeat multiple rounds, 2 rounds. Now, of course, as with any armor, if you put 2 shots on exactly the same place, that's that.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
actually, for rifles, we actually test, one of the ways we test this with departments is we shoot with rifles and then we come back with service sidearms. Service sidearms, we can dump full magazines into the same spot without issue.
Okay, very good. Now, and we now have full NIJ certification, correct?
Yes, we do. We have full NIJ certification on this model, and you know, just because we have the certification, we have the testing background, the background of that stamp in a government agency does not mean that we're stopping.
Right.
Things always have to move forward, and we've already started moving forward with next generation.
And we've talked a little bit about this on the phone, and actually before we shot video here, we were discussing that as well.
Yes, we were.
You gave me a peek, a little preview, if you will, of some things to come. We don't want to put that on video at this time.
That's correct.
But please share.
Yeah, so we have initial testing done on next generation version, and initial indications show that we should be able to have the same stopping power as this certified product. So that's multi-hit capable against the 7.62x5.1 M80, the mild steel core AK round, the M43, and M855 at potentially more than a 20% weight reduction from this model.
And what is the weight? Now again, we're looking at a plate-shaped panel.
Yes.
It's not the full wraparound, but what would the weight be, if you know offhand, on this version?
This version right here is 4.9 pounds.
So you anticipate the new iteration to be approximately
Sub 4.
sub 4, under 4 pounds.
Yes, sir.
Very good, which of course transitions into the wraparound model as well. Outstanding. Any other information you'd like to discuss?
I think that covers most of it very well. We are very proud of where we've come, how we've gotten here, our capabilities, taking on new responsibilities and having stuff that's been relying upon the feedback of the community and has been designed with their hopes and feedback in mind, and we're getting a lot of good response, and we're just glad to be here and be servicing the community. Outstanding.
Now, as an aside, actually not really an aside, it should be a primary directive. Sampled out a little chocolatey cherry Maduro goodness to you, and have you had an opportunity to commit arson to that particular stick?
I've been waiting on it for you, and we'll share that, and you may make a believer out of me yet.
I think I will, brother. Saddle very well. Saddle, is that what I just said? I think I was trying to combine saddled up and travel. So travels home and to family and hearth very well and safely, and look forward to talking to you very soon.
Bon voyage.
Bon voyage, yeah, only if you're going to do the sequence.